the obsession, the world, the internet, everyone is waiting. They're hoping for this moment where you and Jennifer run into each other so they can take their picture.
I'll run into Jen. She's a good friend.
Brad Pitt, now 61, has reportedly made a decision that's sending ripples through Hollywood. After two of the most public and painful divorces imaginable, sources close to the star claim he's swearing off marriage for good. But this isn't just about a lack of love. It's about a wound that runs so deep, it has changed him forever. For years, he was one half of Brangelina, a global sensation that seemed almost too perfect to be real. And as it turns out, it was. The collapse of that empire wasn't just a breakup, it was an 8-year war, a brutal conflict fought in the blinding glare of the public eye. It left him with a fractured family, a strained relationship with the children he loves, and a profound understanding of what he's willing to risk. And according to his inner circle, a third trip down the aisle is a risk he's no longer willing to take. We're about to unpack the heartbreaking reasons why one of the world's biggest movie stars may never say "I do" again. Before the war, there was the fairy tale, a story that now feels like a distant memory. The year was 2004, on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Brad Pitt was Hollywood's golden boy, married to America's sweetheart, Jennifer Aniston. Angelina Jolie was the industry's electrifying bombshell, a single mother who had recently adopted her son, Maddox. Their on-screen chemistry was so potent you could practically feel the sizzle coming off the screen and into the real world. The public watched, captivated, as rumors of an on-set romance began to fly. In January 2005, Pitt and Aniston shocked the world when they announced their separation. Their statement spoke of thoughtful consideration, but the subtext was impossible to ignore. Just a few months later, photos of Pitt and Jolie on a beach in Kenya with Maddox confirmed what everyone suspected. Brangelina was born. What followed was a decade of apparent bliss. They weren't just a couple, they were a global brand. Their rainbow family grew rapidly with a beautiful mix of adopted and biological children. After Maddox, they adopted Zahara from Ethiopia in 2005. In 2006, Pitt legally adopted both children, changing their last names to Jolie Pitt to cement his role as their father. Their first biological child, Shiloh, was born in Namibia in May 2006, followed by the adoption of Pax from Vietnam in 2007. The family was completed in 2008 with the birth of their twins, Knox and Vivian, in France. They were a sprawling, globe-trotting clan, using their fame for philanthropic work and activism on a massive scale. For years, they resisted marriage. In a famous 2006 interview, Pitt said they'd only tie the knot when everyone in the country had the same right, a strong stance for marriage equality. But eventually, they gave in, largely due to pressure from their children. On August 23, 2014, they married in a stunningly private ceremony at their French estate, Château Miraval. The wedding was a true family affair, with the kids helping write the vows and Jolie's veil decorated with their drawings. It was the fairy tale ending everyone was waiting for. They were the king and queen of Hollywood, seemingly untouchable. But as the world would soon learn, even the strongest castles can crumble from within. The illusion of the perfect family shattered with terrifying speed. While the public saw an unbreakable team, insiders later whispered about growing friction behind the scenes. They clashed over parenting styles. Pitt reportedly favored more structure, while Jolie preferred a free-form approach. These tremors were about to become an earthquake. The breaking point arrived on September 14, 2016, during a private flight from France to Los Angeles. What happened on that plane has been debated for years, but the allegations laid out by Jolie's legal team were explosive. She claimed that an intoxicated Pitt became physically and verbally abusive toward her and several of their children. The claims included allegations that he grabbed her by the head, shook her, choked one child, and struck another. It was a horrifying image, completely at odds with Pitt's public persona. Pitt has always vehemently denied these specific allegations of abuse. The news hit like a thunderclap. An anonymous tip led to an investigation by the Los Angeles County Department of Children and Family Services and the FBI. Could the man known for his easygoing charm be at the center of a child abuse investigation? The fairy tale had dissolved into a nightmare. Just 5 days later, on September 19, 2016, Angelina Jolie filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. She requested sole physical custody of their 6 children, signaling that this would not be a peaceful split. Her lawyer's statement that the decision was made for the health of the family was a stark message. The Brangelina empire had officially fallen. Pitt was now in an unthinkable position, under investigation, publicly, accused and separated from his children. Though he was eventually cleared of any charges, the damage was done. The narrative had been set. The private world they had built was now a public spectacle, and the stage was set for a battle that would drag on for nearly a decade and cost him far more than just his marriage. The divorce filing wasn't the end. It was just the first shot in one of Hollywood's longest and most bitter legal wars. The next 8 years were a grueling campaign fought over custody, assets, and public opinion. For Brad Pitt, it was an existential struggle that would redefine his life. The most brutal battle was for the children. Jolie initially secured temporary sole custody, with Pitt granted only monitored visits. He fought desperately for a 50-50 arrangement, but Jolie's team consistently brought up the 2016 plane incident to resist it. In 2021, a private judge granted Pitt joint custody, but the victory was fleeting. Jolie's team successfully appealed the decision, arguing the judge had a conflict of interest, and the order was thrown out. Pitt was back at square one. As the years passed, the older children aged out of the custody system, leaving the fight to focus only on the twins, Knox and Vivienne. At the same time, another war was raging over Chateau Miraval, the beautiful French estate and winery where they'd married became a symbol of their division. Pitt alleged they had a mutual agreement not to sell their shares without the other's consent. But in 2021, Jolie sold her stake to a subsidiary of the Stoli Group, controlled by Russian oligarch Yuri Shefler. Pitt filed a lawsuit, claiming she had deliberately tried to harm him. Jolie's team fired back, alleging that Pitt had tried to force her into an unconscionable NDA that would have silenced her from speaking about the alleged abuse. The battle over the winery continues in courts in the US and Europe. The financial cost of this 8-year war was staggering, with millions spent on legal fees, but the emotional cost was immeasurably higher. Finally, in late December 2024, a breakthrough came when they reached a divorce settlement. While the agreement ended the formal divorce proceedings, it didn't resolve the ongoing fight over the winery. When asked about the settlement months later, Pitt downplayed it, calling it just something coming to fruition, legally. But the scars from that 8-year war, financial, legal, and familial, were deep and permanent. Of all the casualties in the war between Pitt and Jolie, the deepest wound has been the fracturing of his relationship with his children. What was once the core of his identity, the proud patriarch, has become his greatest source of pain. Insiders say his contact with the older children is now virtually non-existent, a quiet tragedy playing out in small but powerful public gestures. The most telling signs have come from the children themselves. In November 2023, his daughter Zahara introduced herself at her Spelman College sorority induction as Zahara Marley Jolie, dropping the Pitt from her name. His other children have followed suit. The playbill for the Broadway musical, The Outsiders, produced by Jolie, listed their daughter not as Vivienne Jolie Pitt, but simply as Vivienne Jolie. While it's unclear if this was a legal change, a source said Vivienne requested the name be shortened for the playbill. Then, in the most definitive move, his eldest biological child, Shiloh, filed to legally remove Pitt from her name on her 18th birthday. Her request was granted in August 2024. She is now legally Shiloh Nouvelle Jolie. Sources said Pitt was aware and upset by the move, a painful reminder of what he's lost. The alienation appears to trace back to that 2016 plane incident. His eldest son, Maddox, was reportedly at the center of the altercation, and their relationship has been non-existent since. Pax has been even more vocal, allegedly calling Pitt a world-class a-hole in a private social media post that was later leaked. Sources suggest the children's loyalty naturally aligned with their mother, who has had primary custody since the split. One insider noted, "Once Brad left, it was very hard for them to see him go to war with her." Pitt has reportedly made several efforts to reconnect, but remains estranged from most of them. This profound sense of loss has deeply affected Pitt. For a man who once spoke so joyfully about his large family, the silence is deafening. This devastation is said to be the central reason behind his hardened perspective on commitment. After surviving the 8-year divorce war and the heartbreaking estrangement from his children, Brad Pitt has emerged a changed man. So at 61, is it true that he'll never marry again? Well, it's complicated. Multiple sources close to him say he is resolute. Marriage is off the table. This isn't just post-divorce bitterness. Insiders describe it as a core belief forged in trauma. The reasoning is simple. He's been burned badly. The divorce didn't just end a relationship. It dismantled his life, costing him millions and, most painfully, his relationship with his children. From his perspective, the legal contract of marriage didn't protect him. It enabled the war. A friend was quoted as saying, "He said he would never get married again. I would be surprised if they got married." This stance comes even as he's found happiness with jewelry designer Inés de Ramón. But here's where the story gets tricky. While Pitt's camp insists he's 100% committed to Inés, but doesn't need a piece of paper to prove that, some tabloids are whispering about wedding bells. There have been multiple reports claiming a 2025 wedding is being planned, though Pitt's representatives have denied any imminent engagement plans. This contradiction highlights the gap between public hope and what might be Pitt's private reality. Some reports even suggest de Ramón would prefer a formal commitment, perhaps before having children of their own. This transformation also comes from the personal work Pitt has done since 2016. He's been open about his journey with sobriety and self-reflection, finding solace in his art and a quieter life. The decision to swear off marriage, if true, is the ultimate expression of this new philosophy. He's seen how love, when tangled in legalities, can become a weapon. One source explained that he's still dealing with the fact that his kids want little to do with him, and at 61, he is simply loving his life just the way it is. Amid the wreckage of his past, Brad Pitt has quietly started a new chapter, one defined by calm stability. This new chapter's name is Inés de Ramón. A successful jewelry executive who is not part of the Hollywood ecosystem, de Ramón entered Pitt's life in late 2022, and their relationship was built away from the spotlight. It appears to be everything his previous one was not: private, grounded, and drama-free. Friends say she's been a positive influence and a source of comfort as he navigated the end of his divorce. In early 2024, they took a significant step and began living together in Pitt's California home. It's a sign of serious commitment that speaks louder than any announcement. A source noted that Pitt is very happy, and moving in together felt natural. Crucially, de Ramón seems to understand his position. While some speculate she might want marriage, the prevailing narrative from Pitt's circle is that she isn't pressuring him. Their bond, sources say, doesn't need a legal document to be real. This new relationship marks a clear shift. He's no longer chasing the epic, world-changing romance of the Brangelina era. Instead, he seems to have found peace in a supportive partnership. Inés de Ramón may represent a future where love can exist without the threat of war. And for a man who has lived through a decade of noise, the quiet is exactly what he needs. So what do you think? After everything he's been through, is Brad Pitt right to be hesitant about marriage? Or do the wedding rumors with Inés de Ramón give you hope for a third chapter? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives into the real stories behind the Hollywood headlines, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. From the dizzying heights of a Hollywood fairy tale to the brutal reality of an 8-year war, Brad Pitt's journey has been a public lesson in the high price of love and fame. The finalization of his divorce in late 2024 was less a celebration and more the end of a period of profound loss, of a partner, a fortune, and most painfully, his family as he knew it. At 61, sources close to the star say he's made a vow to himself, to never again enter the legal contract of marriage. This reported decision isn't an admission of defeat, but a declaration of peace. In his new, quieter life with Inés de Ramón, he has found a different kind of happiness, one that doesn't require a ring or a public spectacle to be real. It's a hard-won peace, built on the ashes of his past, and one he seems determined to protect at all costs.